Hello and welcome back. My name is Jack B. And as always, thank you for viewing my video. I would suggest that the origins of the majority of families in the U.S. came from other countries. Further, I would also suggest most people came from humble and modest beginnings, dysfunctional families or broken homes. Not everyone has lived a Campbell soup life. But because we are in America, the U.S. Constitution provides for each of us the opportunity to learn and improve ourselves. We should never be embarrassed of our ancestors because in many ways we are them, but have the distinction to be able to improve. As they say, the truth is out there. The question of whether Trump should have invaded Iran is a legitimate topic of debate, but not right now. We had two choices in Iran. Number one, give them what they wanted, turn tail, and run. Or number two, finish the job, cut off the economic points of entry to their country, and open the strait militarily to gain leverage for negotiations. As with all of Trump's previous endeavors, when the objective became too hard and he became bored, he chose number one. The so-called Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran is an embarrassment to every American. It is not an MOU. It is a bill of fare listing what Trump gave Iran. Let's not forget we have 13 military personnel killed and hundreds more wounded. Some people say the MOU is the best we can do and we should just accept it and move on. The fact of the matter is Trump, as he stated, became tired with the war and just wanted it to go away. The typical Trump has emerged in full. He enters the china shop like a bull, then he barges through and breaks everything. Then he sneaks out the back door, patting himself on the back for a job well done. He is our president. During the past several months, Trump's elevator talks indicated his objectives or excuses for military operations in Iran centered on neutralizing the country's military, eliminating threats to our global allies, and containing its geopolitical influence. The talking points were 1. Remove all enriched uranium and the tools to make it. 2. Assure Iran can never have a nuclear bomb. 3. Destroy their entire military complex. 4. Stop their terrorist proxies. 5. A possible regime change. Trump did not accomplish his stated goals with the Iran war. In fact, it appears we are worse off today than we were before the war, and it looks like Iran won the war by simply standing up against Trump, not budging and saying no. My interpretation of the MOU: 1. Trump's actions solidified Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. 2. Trump's actions solidified Iran's geopolitical influence. 3. Trump's actions will make Iran rich and powerful. 4. The MOU is silent on support on the Iran's terrorist proxies. 5. Trump stated he did not want to be a Hoover president and cause a depression in the U.S. This signals to Iran they defeated the U.S. Trump admitted the closure of the Strait of Hormuz had a deadly impact on American economy. 6. Trump's actions made more money for the rich by manipulating the stock market with planned presidential statements. 7. The MOU simply states they will talk about removing the enriched uranium. 8. The MOU simply states they will talk about no nukes for Iran. 9. While the Iranian Navy is destroyed, they still have plenty of go-fast boats and sea drones, and their military complex is thriving, providing them with an endless number of attack drones. 10. The MOU agrees to get them $300 billion in reconstruction. 11. Iran's proxies are still very active. I am surprised the MOU doesn't say death to America. All this was very predictable and should not surprise anyone. Trump is a charlatan, and his method of operations is to barge in, get involved, confuse, and disrupt everything for a lengthy period. Then, when he gets bored, settle the disruption with an ending which is far worse than when he started, and then call it a great deal. He has done this throughout his life. He is basically a loser, which is his favorite term. J.D. Vance is also deeply involved with this debacle. While he may have attended and graduated from an Ivy League school, he is still an awkward muppet being led by Trump. I can't imagine standing in front of TV cameras and stating that it is unfair for an aggressive loser of a war not to have weapons and not be able to defend itself. I am not an historian, but I am willing to bet that each loser of a war was ultimately disarmed. I wonder if he really believes that statement. The reason Iran still has missiles is not because Trump allows it, but rather because they refuse to give them up. Trump caved into the Iranians, and all Americans look like losers. It is interesting that the term loser has often been used with respect to DJ Trump. This description has been a common theme over his entire career. It is used by business partners, political opponents, biographers, and psychologists. The primary arguments from critics who label Donald Trump as a loser spans several specific areas of his life. Number one, business and financial failures. Critics argue that Trump's image as a self-made billionaire is a carefully constructed illusion. Trump's father provided over $500 million to bail out Trump over his career. Number two, corporate bankruptcies and lawsuits. Trump uses bankruptcies to evade creditors and payments. He uses lawsuits to either get money from his partners or not to pay money to his partners and to inflict legal fee pain on them. Number three, he has squandered his inheritance. Financial investigations, such as those detailed in the book Lucky Loser, argue that Trump inherited massive wealth from his father, Fred Trump, but lost a significant portion of it through bad investments. Financial analysts have noted that if Trump had simply invested his inheritance in a standard S&P 500 index fund, he would be wealthier today than he is through his active business ventures. Number four, his many failed ventures, such as Trump Airlines, Trump Vodka, Trump Steaks, Trump Sneakers, Trump Bibles, Trump Cards, and Trump University, to name a few. Some of his other endeavors provided limited income. Multiple groups of psychologists, psychiatrists, and mental health experts have written books analyzing Donald Trump's mental health, his behavior, and his deep-seated fear of losing. The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, a 2017 New York Times best-selling book edited by Yale psychiatrist Dr. Bandy X. Lee, featured contributions from dozens of mental health professionals. The authors argued that their civic duty to warn the public about the perceived dangers of his mental state superseded the American Psychiatric Association's Goldwater Rule, which prohibits mental health professionals from diagnosing public figures they have not personally examined. In a subsequent expanded edition, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, 37 psychiatrists and mental health experts assess a president, was published in 2019. Other books authored by mental health experts include Too Much and Never Enough on Simon & Schuster, written by Mary L. Trump, a clinical psychologist and Donald Trump's niece, which provides a psychological and family history. She wrote in her memoir that Trump's father strictly conditioned him to believe that showing vulnerability or losing was psychic death. This created a lifelong obsession with projecting a winner persona at all costs. Another book, Trump on the Couch on Penguin Random House, authored by clinical professor of psychiatry Justin A. Frank, offering a portrait of his psychology and childhood. Psychologists note that Trump's refusal to concede the 2020 election demonstrates a sore loser mentality. His reliance on conspiracy theories to explain his losses is viewed by critics as a coping mechanism to protect a fragile ego. Observers note that loser is Trump's own favorite insult for his adversaries. Commentators argue that his constant use of the word is a psychological projection of the label he fears most. Trump grew up in a world of vast privilege, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't emotionally wounded. Now, once again, the world pays the price for this deeply damaged man. He has no strong beliefs about governing or public policy. His major motivations are money, power, revenge, good genes, denial, and adulation. Exact details about Donald Trump's school accomplishments and grades remain unverified because his academic transcripts from high school and college are sealed. While his official records are not public, available reports and public accounts provide insight into his academic history. He attended high school at the New York Military Academy. He graduated in 1964, and he made the honor roll, which required an 85 average, in 4 of his 5 years there. He was not in the top 10% of his class. Just as a note, some schools I attended, to be on the honor roll, one had to have at least a grade of 93 in all their subjects, not just the average. In addition, the 85 average indicates he is a person that was able to maintain a solid average score, which is good. Trump attended Fordham University and then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he graduated in 1968 with a Bachelor of Science in Economics. He did not graduate with honors. Trump has historically claimed to be a top student and has touted his Wharton degree as evidence of super genius stuff. However, this claim is heavily debated because his grades remain tightly guarded. Former personal lawyer Michael Cohen testified before Congress that Trump directed him to send letters to his high school, colleges, and the college board threatening legal action if they publicly released his academic records. Donald Trump avoided the military draft during the Vietnam War by receiving a total of 5 deferments, 4 for college education, 1964 to 1968, and 1 medical deferment, 1968, for bone spurs in his heels, eventually classifying him as medically unfit for service. D.J. Trump's father was classified as 4F, unfit for service. D.J. Trump was heavily influenced by many of his father's ideals. Prior to D.J. Trump's birth in 1947, Records indicate his father was arrested at a KKK rally on May 31, 1927. The event occurred during a Memorial Day clash between police and the Ku Klux Klan in the Jamaica neighborhood of Queens, New York. His father's influence also extended to his idea of having great genes, which was probably derived from the fake science of eugenics, which was popular in America in the early 1900s. The clash between the police and KKK involved approximately 1,000 white-robed Klansmen that were demonstrating. It then descended into an all-out brawl. Fred Trump was one of 7 men arrested. He was charged with refusing to disperse from a parade. Newspaper reports from that time indicate that the arrestees were wearing Klan robes. But in fairness to Trump, when asked about the incident by reporters decades later, Donald Trump vehemently denied that it ever took place and maintained that his father was not involved with the event. Trump is fascinated with having great genes. In 1988, he told Oprah Winfrey that a person had to have the right genes in order to achieve great fortune. In 2010, he told CNN that he was a gene believer, explaining that when you connect 2 racehorses, you usually end up with a fast horse. He compared his own gene pool to that of successful thoroughbreds. In 2020, the New York Times reported he described a largely white crowd at a Minnesota rally as having good genes. During the campaign speech to the crowd of white supporters, Trump said, "You have good genes. You know that, right? You have good genes. A lot of it is about the genes, isn't it, don't you believe? You have good genes in Minnesota." There has always been some denial of Trump's heritage. His father lied about his family's heritage, pretending that the Trumps were from Sweden, not Germany. Trump repeated the lie in his book, The Art of the Deal. Trump also stated at a rally in Iowa that immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country. They're destroying the fabric of our country, and we're going to have to get them out. Trump often describes migrants in eugenic terms, claiming that they are low IQ or they bring bad genes into the country. Conversely, he often describes himself as highly intelligent based upon genetic grounds. Same genes. We have the genes, Trump once said of an uncle who was an MIT professor, as if it were a credential for his own cognitive ability. We're smart people. We're like racehorses, too. You know, the fast ones produce the fast ones, and the slow ones don't work out so well, right? But we're no different in that sense. While Donald Trump has occasionally and incorrectly stated in public that his father was born in Germany, official records and his birth certificate confirm his birthplace was New York. Donald Trump's paternal grandparents, however, were immigrants from Karlstadt, Germany. Frederick Trump, DJ Trump's grandfather, immigrated to the United States in 1885. On October 7, 1885, Friedrich Trump, a 16-year-old German barber, boarded a ship with a one-way ticket to the United States. They say the purpose of the trip was to escape Germany's compulsory military service. He was essentially a draft dodger. He had been a sickly child, unsuited to hard labor, and feared the effects of the draft. During the Klondike Gold Rush, 1896 to 1899, Frederick Trump moved to Yukon, Canada, and from 1898 to 1901 operated a restaurant and a brothel for miners in Whitehorse, which is where he made his fortune. In 1901, Frederick Trump returned to Karlstadt and married Elizabeth Christ. Frederick Trump's parents had owned vineyards, and he attempted to stay home with the small fortune he'd made in New York, Seattle, and the Yukon. But when his draft dodging came to light with the government, the Trumps were stripped of their German citizenship in 1905 and ordered to leave Germany. They ultimately returned to the United States for good. Upon his return, Frederick Trump worked as a barber and manager of a restaurant hotel in Queens, where he started purchasing property. Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump, was born in New York City, New York. He was born in the borough of the Bronx on October 11, 1905. He made his fortune in residential real estate development. In the mid-1930s, Fred Trump met a Scottish woman, Mary Ann MacLeod, who was a domestic worker. "Something clicked between the maid and the mogul," wrote Michael Cranish and Mark Fisher in their biography, Trump Revealed. They were married. DJ Trump was born on June 14, 1946. Trump often claims that he's a self-made billionaire, but in fact he inherited his father's wealth, as reporters Russ Buettner and Suzanne Craig explain in their 2024 book, Lucky Loser, How Donald Trump Squandered His Father's Fortune and Created the Illusion of Success. His father bankrolled his developments and bailed him out when they failed. Despite his boasts, he knows that most of his business ventures, his casinos, hotels, golf courses, fake university, airline, football team, clothing line, steaks, and others, failed. Most banks won't go near Trump because they consider him a toxic grifter who consistently defrauds his subcontractors, employees, and lenders. According to Forbes magazine, which ranks the world's billionaires, Trump was never as wealthy as he claimed to be. Trump's favorite insults, directed toward people he considers his enemies, are not smart and losers. It appears he is projecting. At least 26 of his top aides publicly said that Trump was unfit to be president. They questioned his competence, character, impulsiveness, narcissism, judgment, intelligence, and even his sanity. According to Michael Wolff in his book, Fire and Fury, both former Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and ex-Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin called Trump an idiot. Trump's one-time economic advisor Gary Cohn said Trump was, and I quote, dumb as shit. His national security advisor H.R. McMaster described the president as a dope. In July 2017, news stories reported that Rex Tillerson, Trump's first Secretary of State, called the president a moron. When asked, he did not deny using that term. In an interview with Foreign Affairs magazine, Tillerson recounted that Trump's understanding of global events, his understanding of global history, and his understanding of U.S. history was really limited. He said, "It's really hard to have a conversation with someone who doesn't even understand the concept for why we're talking about this. Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be President of the United States," said his former Vice President Mike Pence. Mark Esper, one of Trump's defense secretaries, said that Trump is not fit for office because he puts himself first, and I think anybody running for office should put the country first. In his farewell speech, Mark Milley, a retired Army general who served as chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2023, warned, "We don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator," clearly referring to Trump. John Kelly, a retired Marine Corps four-star general who served as Chief of Staff from 2017 to 2019, said that Trump admires autocrats and murderous dictators and has nothing but contempt for our democratic institutions, our Constitution, and the rule of law. Soon after the January 6, 2021 insurrection, McMaster, the former national security advisor, told CNN's Jake Tapper that Trump had incited the riot through sustained disinformation, spreading these unfounded conspiracy theories. He accused Trump of undermining rule of law. Sarah Matthews, deputy White House press secretary during Trump's first term, witnessed Trump staffers trying, without success, to get the president to condemn the January 6th violence. "In my eyes, it was a complete dereliction of duty that he did not uphold his oath of office," she told USA Today. "I lost all faith in him that day and resigned from her job." Trump's continuation of pushing this lie that the election is stolen has made him wholly unfit to hold office ever again, Matthews said. One has to wonder what kind of president invites the media to attend cabinet meetings where each member is required to humiliate themselves by telling Trump how wonderful, great, and powerful he is. Is he the Wizard of Oz? I also wonder what kind of person craves being famous for telling people you're fired. But that's how he became a TV celebrity. To be fair, Trump deserves some credit. He does have the kind of intelligence referred to as street smarts, which is attributed to hustlers, con men, and grifters. It seems that it has worked for him. In summary, the narrative speaks for itself. We knew what we got when he was elected president a second time. Well, these are my thoughts for today. And again, whether you agree or disagree, please verify the information presented. Thank you. And until next time, take care and be safe.
No, Kevin. Me na do it.
Ooh.